Happy anniversary. And I know I'm disturbing a lot of wonderful conversations, but hopefully you'll have time to visit following the meeting. I would like to go ahead and get started again because we have quite a bit to get through in the next few minutes. It was 10 years ago, this past Monday, March the 19th, 2008, that WIP's inaugural luncheon was held with 107 attendees. And among those were the 25 founders who had already committed to WIP, but most were just guests, invitees, who were being asked to come and learn about this organization and being asked to join this new organization in the community that would be by and for women. WIP had been established less than a year before through the efforts of Lee Smith of the Community Foundation and Laverne Gold of the United Way, and was co-chaired through its formation in early years by Carolyn Mond and Beth Evans. And ladies, would you please stand, Carolyn and Beth? At that first meeting, they encouraged others to join them. So if you were one of those 25 founding members or were one of the guests who accepted that invitation at that first meeting 10 years ago, would you please stand? Thank you so much for joining me in recognizing these women for their leadership. 10 years have gone by so fast that we tend to overlook the hard work and determined effort of these founders. Congratulations, ladies. And I will tell you that there's a little brief history of WIP on each table. There's a couple of handouts. It's probably sitting under your dessert. But just to recap some highlights of the last 10 years, I would like to mention that the first 100 members of WIP was actually reached by March of 2008, and that our Women in Philanthropy mission was set shortly thereafter. It has changed slightly over the years to expand both our reach, but the basic statement is the same. The mission of Women in Philanthropy for the CSRA is to create an awareness of the needs of women and children in the central Savannah River area of Georgia and South Carolina, to educate women about philanthropic opportunities, and to empower them to invest annually in funds restricted for the unique needs of women and children. I think we've done a good job of that, and certainly as WIP has grown, so has its committee structure. We now have 7 active committees, and among them our membership. Our membership has, as of today, is 190, and who knows, by the end of today we could reach that magic 200 goal that we've all been striving for. From the first granting cycle, when $60,000 was presented to 3 agencies, our grants have grown. Our presentations today will put WIP over the $1 million mark. But it's not just the money. More importantly is what we have done with it. The thousands of lives of women and children that we have positively impacted. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your faith in the idea that the combined efforts of interested, caring, and committed women can result in so much more than what we can each do alone. The power of the purse is indeed a powerful concept, and thank you for helping us prove that in this community. We are assisted in our mission by educational activities such as Fall Forum, the workshop for area agencies interested in applying for a grant, and the videotaping of our grants finalists in our meetings. And I hope that y'all have gotten familiar with YouTube and that you actually go on and see these meetings, our Fall Forum, and the different things that we do. I know it's kind of a new idea for some of you, but please do take a look at it and share it with other folks. WIP now has its own website and a quarterly newsletter, and our media coverage has been excellent over the years. Finance has made changes to improve our giving ability, especially the formula that we now use to determine grants funding, and to help grow the WIP endowment, which was approximately $433,000 with the addition of this year's money at the end of February. And I know that's something that our founders would be very pleased with. It has long been a wish that we have something to designate us as WIP members when we attend events in the community. And thanks to the generosity of members Tony Peacock and Joanne Herbert, we do. So each of you as a member should have received an anniversary gift. It's the special little WHIP logo pin when you arrive today. And if not, I think there is somebody that will be standing by the door with a basket of pins to make sure you get one on your way out. So please wear the pin with pride and share our mission and story with others in the community. As a brief recap of this past anniversary year, our committees have been hard at work in response to your surveys of last year. And I'd just like to recognize those board members who have served this year. If you would stand. Carol Bennett, Chair-elect. Christy Mon, past Chair and Nominating Chair. Debbie Lehman, Corresponding Secretary. Claudia Schmidt, Recording Secretary. Committee Chairs, Dr. Leanne Caldwell, Communications. Floride Dickert, Education. Dr. Avis Yount, Finance. Susan Rice, Governance. Lee Ash, Grants. Joanne Herbert, Grants Chair-elect. Becky McKenzie, Membership. Beth Jones, Special Events. Members at Large, Laurie Easterlin, Dr. Pam Fall, Betty Meehan, Nita Mulheron, and Dr. Betty Pond. Honorary members Beth Evans and Carolyn Mond, and ex officio members Shell Berry and Laverne Gold. Thank you so much. And a special thanks to everyone who has served on a committee this year. I shared at our last board meeting, we really have accomplished a great deal this year, and it's thanks to you. The board has just made it so easy, and I want to thank each and every one of you for what you've done this past year. Of special note is the new Luncheon Learn program that was instituted by the Education Committee. So far, members have visited Augusta Locally Grown, Harrisburg Health, and Immaculate Conception. More social options were available this year with a new member get-together in August and a membership social in January. We have a new Facebook page, and I hope that you have viewed it, you have liked it, and you have shared it, because we really want to get the whole WHIP story out. One other thing, at the recommendation of Finance, our 3 WHIP funds were combined into one, which should increase our returns. And also on your tables, underneath your dessert, is the financial report as of year end. So please take a look at that if you'd like to see more details. Our clerical and membership record keeping has moved from the United Way and from member Kay Ward, who have all been so gracious to do that for us for so many years. And it is now at the Community Foundation, and thanks to Elise Bowman especially for her patience with us as we've made this move. We held Fall Forum this past year as usual, but we were in a new venue. And we want to thank the Church of the Good Shepherd, which was ideal for our grantees. Our grantee fair, where we recognized all those agencies which have received grants for the past 10 years. We honored one with a special $10,000 anniversary gift, and those of you who were there know what a big surprise this was to Augusta Locally Grown. And what I'd like to share with you, Kim has shared with us that so far of that $10,000, they have used $2,500 to provide a stipend to expand gardening education, $2,500 for the transition of their finances to QuickBooks and to train their board treasurer and not-for-profit finances. And they're going to use the remaining $5,000 to leverage 2 grants. One for monies for a contracted grants manager and one for monies for a part-time financial manager. So that is really something that has been put to good use by Augusta Locally Grown. There are additional plans underway for women in philanthropy, and the long-range planning summary was in the last newsletter. It's been turned over to Governance Committee, and they'll be working on it in the upcoming year. Since we have turned that over to Governance, we no longer have an anniversary and long-range planning committee. They've been suspended. I'm sure they're thrilled with that because, I tend to come up with a lot of ideas, and they just kind of, But anyway, I want to thank those folks for a job well done for the last 2 years. Christy Mon, Carol Bennett, Dr. Leanne Caldwell, Lee Ash, Beth Evans, Suzanne Denning, Anita Wilds, Linda Dickey, Kay Ward, and then I was on the committee as well. And finally, a special note of thanks to our advisory committee. They were hosted by Fran Upton at a special holiday function in December where they shared memories of the past 10 years and received a history of WHIP, which we recently compiled. I think they're pleased with the results of what they started. And founded in 2014, the advisory group currently includes Carolyn Mond, Beth Evans, Susan Nicholson, Fran Upton, Tony Peacock, Jeanette Cummings, Jean Strickland, Penny Johnson-Brown, Ann Trotter, Suzanne Denning, Dr. Faye Hargrove, Dr. Joe Maypole, and Julie Batchelor. And we're pleased to announce the following new members are being added to advisory at the end of this meeting today. We thank them for their years of service as they rotate off the WHIP board. All have had at least 6 years on the board and in various capacities. They include Christy Mond, Betty Meehan, Dr. Pam Fall, and Dr. Leanne Caldwell. Thank you so much. This year we also have a special recognition. Our longtime friend and supporter, one of the people who imagined WHIP in the very beginning, and who taught Carolyn and Beth into this journey, is retiring. So Laverne Gold, would you stand for just a moment? Laverne Gold, Executive Director of the United Way of the CSRA, will be leaving in July, but we don't want to let her go too far. So WHIP is inviting Laverne to serve on the WHIP Advisory Board upon her retirement, and we hope that she will accept. Thank you, Laverne, and best wishes for a well-deserved retirement. So, congratulations to our members on the success of WHIP's first 10 years. Thanks to your efforts in this past capstone year. And please, as we move forward, help us to sustain our growth. Continue your commitment to the women and the children of the CSRA. And speaking of the future, I'll now call on Christy Mond, who is going to give us a report from nominating.
The nominating committee met at Enterprise Mill Conference Room, January 23rd. Present were Lou Cheek, Carol Bennett, Becky McKenzie, Joanne Herbert, Beth Evans, Carolyn Mond, Ann Trotter, and I was the nominating chair. The following slate of officers was selected, and let me read those to you now. Chair, Carol Bennett. Chair-elect, Dr. Betty Pond. Communications Chair, Laurie Easterlin. Corresponding Secretary, Debbie Lehman. Education, Florrie Dickert. Finance, Dr. Avis Yant. Governance, Susan Rice. Grants Chair, Joanne Herbert. Grants Chair-elect, Julie Badger. Membership, Becky McKenzie. Nominating and past Chair, Lou Cheek. Recording Secretary, Claudia Schmidt. Special Events, Beth Jones. At-large, Nita Mulheron. At-large, Lee Ash. At-large, Michelle Ansley. And at-large, B.J. Blackwood.
Thank you. You have heard the report of the nominating committee. Do I hear any nominations from the floor? Okay, hearing none. Christy, do I have a motion to accept the slate of officers as presented by nominating? Do I have a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the slate is accepted. Ladies, if you'll stand and let us congratulate you all. Thank you so much for agreeing to serve. Okay, now everybody's had their exercise after lunch, and so I would now, we have a special program for you. I think that you will hopefully be inspired by this. I know that you will enjoy it, and I'd like to call on Dr. Avis Yant to introduce our guest speaker.
I have the pleasure today of introducing our speaker, Kathy Isard. This past summer, I heard Kathy speak about her journey to build housing for the homeless in Charlotte. I found her talk very inspiring, and I read her book, and The 100-Story Home, about her journey to build the housing for the homeless and thoroughly enjoyed it. We often don't think much about the repercussions of homelessness, even though we see it on the streets almost every day. Economic forces, mental health issues, and addictive problems are the main reasons for homelessness. Supportive housing has been shown to reduce both societal and healthcare costs. Kathy was an award-winning graphic designer for 20 years while raising 4 daughters. She quit her job in 2007 to work for the Urban Ministry Center to raise money to build housing for the homeless. More Place opened in 2012. She wrote about her efforts in her memoir, The 100-Story Home, which received the 2017 Christopher Award. The book was first self-published, but due to overwhelming response, HarperCollins is bringing out a new edition which will be available in June of this year. Kathy's community volunteer work has earned her the Bank of America Neighborhood Excellence Local Hero Award and the North Carolina Housing Volunteer of the Year Award. Most recently, she led the development campaign for Hopeway, Charlotte's first nonprofit residential mental health treatment center, which opened in 2016. I want to welcome Kathy to Augusta and as our speaker for our 10th anniversary.
Thank you so much, Lou. You guys have been so nice welcoming me here. I was already excited to be here because I'm a member of an organization just like this in Charlotte, the Women's Impact Fund, and it's probably one of the most favorite things I've been involved with in Charlotte. We're a little bit older, we're 15 years old, but I think what I love about it, not just the collective giving and the impact that we've seen over the time that we've been doing that, but it's the women that I got to meet through that. I feel like every time I would go to one of those meetings or be in one of our Luncheon Learns, it's where I found my tribe, you know, the women that really felt like that they want to do good in the world. And, you know, you can't have those conversations maybe in the grocery store over the produce, you know, hey, how do you want to change the world? But you can in groups like this. I think if you belong to something like this, then you were, this was our motto in the Women's Impact Fund in Charlotte. We would put this on everything we did. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And we used to put this on everything. We kind of like to change it to a small group of thoughtful women. And we really did. And so I think if you belong to an organization like this, you probably were raised maybe a little bit the way I was raised. I was raised by some very overachieving parents who believed that you should do good. And this is my father with my sister Louise on his shoulders. As you can see, even if we were playing, we had to dream big. We had to think big and reach for the stars. And I was born in 1963. I'm 55. So even at that time, as we were being raised as daughters in the 70s, and I think some families raise their daughters, you know, about getting married and having children. And I never had a conversation like that with my father. My father always wanted to know, what are you going to do? How are you going to leave the world a better place? And he used to tell me, you can do anything, Kathy, really, anything. And in some ways, I think he meant for that to be empowering, but I think in some ways it was kind of paralyzing. Because how do you live up to that? How do you live up to that dream of saving the world and really doing something big? And so the story that I'm going to tell you about today is how I waited for that. I was kept looking for that thing and I couldn't find it, but then that thing found me, that idea found me. And at the time it happened, I felt completely and totally unqualified for it. I didn't think that I could do it. But I think someone kind of pushed me off a cliff towards it. And I hope you also hear my story about another woman who thought she was doing just one small thing and how transformative it was. Because that's what I hope with you leave here today, not only empowered by what all of you all collectively are doing and the power of collective giving, but I want you to really believe in the power of one. I want you to believe in the power of you. So this all started when I was trying to raise my daughters like my father had. These are my 4 girls. My husband and I overachieved in the daughter category. We had 2 older daughters, and then our third try for a boy was twin girls. So I was really busy. I had a graphic design business, and so the idea of saving the world and raising 4 daughters and having a business was really a little too much for me. So the one thing that we did to kind of do good in the world is we worked at a soup kitchen. And it's the Urban Ministry Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we would go one Sunday a month and help feed the homeless. This is what the Urban Ministry Center looks like in Charlotte. And we would go, and it's a little bit like the children's story Stone Soup. You would show up and you weren't sure how many people you were feeding, and they would just say, go in, open the refrigerators, make as many sandwiches as you can and 30 gallons of soup, and we would, by the end of it, feed about 400 people on a given Sunday. And we did this for almost 10 years. It was my daughter's favorite thing. It was our favorite thing. It was that one moment when I really thought once a month, I'm doing some good. But I really thought homelessness was one of those big, intractable problems that you really couldn't do much about, that it was just going to always be, it was kind of a black hole. And I certainly didn't think I could do anything about it. So once a year, I was coming to a luncheon like this, and I was giving my $1,000, and I was really, excited about it. And once a month, I was serving the homeless. But I was still kind of restless inside. I could hear my father's voice saying, you can do anything. And I felt like I really wasn't measuring up. But I was 100% certain, whatever it was that I was looking for me, I was not going to find it in the soup kitchen. And I think that's when life finds us, right? When we're not looking for it. So that all changed in 2007 when I read a book called Same Kind of Different as Me. Some of you might have read it. It's been a national bestseller, and now it's a movie. And I read this book, and it just transformed how I was thinking. I thought, I can't believe that what these guys have done. And if you haven't read the book, Ron Hall is the gentleman in the back, and he went to a soup kitchen, and I think he thought, kind of like me, there wasn't really much he could do, but he might meet one person and reach down and kind of pull somebody up out, help them pull them up by their bootstraps. And what happened is that Denver Moore, the gentleman in the front, who's been homeless almost 30 years, he ended up saving Ron right back. And the two of them had a relationship that was transformative. And I go into my book in the whole reason of why I was standing with Denver Moore in the same 2 feet of the universe. But since we only have a small time together, I'll just tell you that I was. I was standing with Denver. I had taken him down to the Urban Ministry Center, and I was giving him a tour. And I thought one of 2 things were going to happen. First, I was going to show him all the good that we were doing at the Urban Ministry Center. I was really proud of it. We didn't just serve soup. We had showers, we had counseling, we had art, soccer, gardening. I really felt like we were state-of-the-art homeless service center, and Denver was going to be so impressed, and he was going to probably give us a pat on the back. And I, after 10 years serving down there, I thought that was going to be pretty good. And the other thing that I thought might happen, Denver's very prophetic in this book. He says a lot of wise things. He's a very wise soul. This is one of the quotes from the book. The truth about it is, whether he's rich or poor or something in between, the earth ain't no final resting place. So in a way, we is all homeless, just working our way towards home. So I was pretty sure when I was taking Denver around the Urban Ministry Center, I was pretty sure that he was going to talk to one of our homeless neighbors, and he was probably going to change their life and say something, and I was going to get to witness that. And I was pretty excited about that. And that's not what happened. So I'm walking Denver around the Urban Ministry Center, and I'm showing him the soccer and the garden and all the things that I'm so proud of and so excited about in our 10 years of service. And he's not saying anything. He's just kind of looking back at me. a little bit like how he was in that photo. And I thought, after 30 minutes in this tour, I thought I didn't really understand it. I didn't understand why, he wasn't impressed. And we got to the end of the tour, and that's when Denver finally decided to speak. We were standing in the lobby, and there were some stairs behind us that go up. And he said, "Can we go upstairs now?" And I said, "Well, there's nothing up there. There's just offices." And he said, "Do you mean to tell me you do all this good in the day and you lock them out to the bad at night?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, where are the beds?" And then he said, "Does that make any sense to you?" Gotta say, been down there for 10 years, right? Serving soup for 10 years, thinking that we were doing a pretty good job. So I had to say, no, doesn't make much sense. And he said, "Are you going to do something about that?" From that moment, I could never see it differently. I could never go to the Urban Ministry Center again and think that we were doing enough. Because of course we weren't. Because of course if we're locking them out to the bad at night and not worrying about what happens, we had to be doing better. And so 2 months later, after not sleeping, I quit my job and I tried to figure out, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do better? And I was completely and totally 100% unqualified to do this. But I thought, so is everybody else, right? I'm just going to wake up every day and try. And so we started researching, what is it? How do other cities do this? And we found out there's a concept called Housing First that was being tried in other cities. And Housing First turned homeless services on its head. And it said, instead of waiting for people to get clean and sober and get a job and have income, which is all pretty difficult if you're living under a bridge and it's 32 at night, right? It's pretty hard to do all those things. Housing First says, let's just start with the fact that they're a human being. Let's start with that. And let's say that every human being deserves housing. Every human being deserves to stay inside. And once we move people inside, then let's ask them, how can we help you? What has happened to you? Do you need addictive treatment services? Do you need a GED? Do you need mental health? Do you need medical care? Let's start there. And so we did. We started a program called Homeless to Homes. And at the top, it was an average, this is a camp in Charlotte, North Carolina. And on May 17th, we moved our first 4 people directly from street to home. One of the gentlemen actually lived in this camp, and we'd found some apartments. This was where we were going to house 2 individuals, and we were moving them directly from street to home in a giant experiment with 13 people on our Homeless to Homes project. And that May 17th, it had taken us 6 months to find these apartments and get the program going, and it was an amazing day. And we thought, man, we have finally done something. And we had all these volunteers moving us in and helping. It was just the best day. And I went home and I went to sleep that night. And I woke up at 2 in the morning going, oh my gosh, what have we done? We're housing 13 people directly from street to home. Okay, now they're inside. What next? What can we do? And one of the women, after that first night, we housed this woman, Helen. If you've read my book, this is Ruth. And Ruth had been living on the streets of Charlotte for almost 10 years and sleeping under cars. And she's about 4'11", tiny, tiny woman. And we housed her that first night, May 17th, and I was worrying, what is happening? Is Ruth having a giant homeless party in our apartments? Is everyone just, having a big beer fest? What is happening? And when I saw her the next morning at work, she ran up to me and she gave me a hug like this. And I said, how was your first night? And she gave me a hug and she said, oh my gosh, did you see how it rained last night? And I said, yeah. And she said, and I didn't get wet. And I can tell you, for all of us who've been worrying about this and working on this for 6 months, what a relief that was, what a freedom that was to know that here we were worried about all these grand ideals, and Helen was worried about not getting wet at night. And it kind of freed us up to just breathe and say, what can we do? And we found out that Housing First works in Charlotte. And after only 3 months sleep, we found people were asking for, can I get drug addiction treatment? You know what? I never graduated from high school. Can you help me get my GED? And even achingly simple things like, you know, if this is really my house, do you think I could plant some tomatoes? Because I really used to like to garden with my grandmother. And we realized this was like a cure for cancer, and we were only giving it to 13 people. And so we started to hear that we needed to do more. And we dreamed something kind of big and outrageous. We dreamed this building. We dreamed that we needed to build our own building. There would be 85 apartments for chronically homeless men and women. We would move them in directly from street to home. And we would have our own place, and inside we would have psychiatric treatment and medical treatment and computer labs and art and garden all in this building because that's what people needed. And we got so excited about it, we talked one donor into it, and we said, we're going to put this on this piece of land. And we had enough money to buy a piece of land for our building, and this is the land that we bought. It was a junkyard. And it may look ugly to you, but to us it was beautiful because it was properly zoned. And we didn't have to ask anyone's permission to build our dream here. So we dreamed this dream, and we were all excited, and we launched our capital campaign for $10 million to endow the building and build it. And you know what happened? It was October 2008. I can tell that people remember what happened in 2008, right? And in Charlotte, North Carolina, the bottom fell out. And the banks who'd been flying high and all the businesses that had been flying high, everyone. And we were standing there with our junkyard and our plans thinking, I don't think this is going to work. But that's why I wrote the book. Because one miracle after another just kept coming. And I tell a lot of stories in the book. This is my favorite. We started getting some press in the Charlotte Observer telling us about what we were trying to do and telling the public. And we were getting little tiny gifts from all kinds of places, $1,000 here, $100 here. And one day I went to my mailbox and I pulled out a card. There was a card in my office mail, and it was just a Hallmark card, and I opened it up and $5 fell out. And inside was a note that said, "May God bless and multiply this small amount." And that was it. I had no idea who it was from. And I just thought, man, you know, here we are in this really hard place, but someone's believing in us enough to send their last dollars. And 2 weeks later, another one, another card, $8, another note, "May God bless and multiply this small amount." And they kept coming. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they just kept coming in the mail. And sure enough, it's like someone was listening. So if you haven't read the book and you don't know, we did it. Spoiler alert. This is More Place. And thank you. We opened it on January 29th, 2012, 85 apartments for chronically homeless men and women. It has now been expanded to 120 apartments, and since 2012, we've housed over 500 chronically homeless people in Charlotte off the streets. As amazing as this day was, when we opened this building and we all just couldn't believe it, the miracles were just beginning because the people were just starting to move in. And this is one of the people that we housed the first in More Place. This is Dale Haley. And Dale had one of the most unusual stories in homelessness in Charlotte. He had some mental health issues and he couldn't live in the shelters. They were too chaotic for him. So he found his own solution. He went and dug a hole in the ground, an 8 by 8 foot hole in the ground. And Dale lived in that 8 by 8 foot hole in the ground until the day that he moved into More Place. And if you want to see the power of housing, this is the before and after on Dale Haley. The most miraculous thing about housing Dale Haley is that it solved our mailbox angel story. That person that we didn't know, what we didn't know is that Dale had a mom. And his mom didn't know how to find him or where he was, but she read about Moreplace in the paper. And she thought, I don't know where my son is. I know he's homeless. I don't know how to help him. I can't help my son, but I might be able to help someone's son. And so she sent her prayers, and she sent her $5, and she hoped someday it would matter for her son. And it did. Because Dale Haley's mom is Frances Haley, who sent us all those cards and all those letters all that time. And because of Moreplace, and because of her belief and her one small thing, it reunited her with her son. I love telling that story, not because only it's so miraculous, but it's because it's what we all think. We all think, my money won't matter. How could Frances's $5 ever matter? My time won't matter. How could I do anything about homelessness? What are you reading about in the paper that you think, someone should do something about that? And then ask yourself, maybe I should do something about that. Philanthropy is about so many things. It's about giving checks, and nonprofits could not live without them. And I tell you today, the nonprofits that you're giving money to today are going to be transformed by your gifts. But philanthropy, especially for women, can be measured beyond resources, beyond your time and talent and treasures. There's also the relationships that you bring to other people. So I hope you listen today to these organizations and think about your time and your relationships and how maybe you could give even a little bit more. What if you mentored one of the children you hear about today? What if you were down in the burn unit and helping someone there? How would that transform you? I want to leave you with a small gift. I know, my book isn't even out right now. It's not out till June, and no one has time to read a book these days anyway. So I want to leave you with the central message of my book. And this is from the very end of the 100-Story Home. Each of us has a call, patiently waiting and whispering. You might be hearing yours already, but are afraid to admit it. It could be as big as a building, or as simple and powerful as a ministry of sending cards. My message to you is this: trust the whisper, whatever it is. Whatever you feel is quietly, persistently, relentlessly calling to you, no matter how crazy or inconvenient it might be to listen. Once you hear it, that one true thing, it's impossible to turn away, because it will keep whispering. And when it does, you must either spend the rest of your life answering it or pretending you never heard it. Be willing to listen. Be willing to let go. Be willing to take that leap of faith. When you do, the life you can't see is infinitely richer and more significant than the life you can see and thought you had planned. Now more than ever, we need women who will listen to their whispers. Women who will gather in giving circles like this one, and women who will believe in their own abilities to affect change. Women who will create. Women who will organize. Women who will inspire, and women who will lead. Do not wait until you feel 100% qualified. Start now. Start today, in ways big and small, from random acts of kindness to acts that will make history. I hope you leave here today not only believing in the power of this giving, but believing in the power of one, the power of you. Believe you can do anything, really, anything. Thank you.
Kathy, thank you so much. I think that it's a lot to think about, but, so very true. And I think many of us could speak to that. At this point, we have some exciting things that we want to share. These are things that we have been inspired to do here with WHIP. And I'm going to call on Lee Ash from our Grants Committee to share what WHIP is supporting this year. Lee?
I'm not sure I can speak quite yet. I'm trying to listen, find a way to put that in my life, and I hope all of you will do the same. I really believe that's what we do. So, sorry. And I can't wait for the book to come out because I do read a lot of books. This year, I'm going to do it a little differently. We're going to start out by awarding the grants, and then I'll just have a few words to say at the end. So, and I've also done it alphabetically this year. I think if you remember last year, I just drew them out of the pile. Is it off? No. Oh, okay. I need a soapbox. This year, we are granting $20,000 to Action Ministries. Their project is housing and hunger relief to women and children in the CSRA. Action Ministries mobilizes communities to address the challenges of poverty by focusing on hunger relief, housing, and education. Funds from this grant will support their Action Empowers and the Smart Lunch, Smart Kid programs. Funds will help subsidize utilities for up to 35 households during 2018. They will also provide resource referrals, emergency child care assistance, and other social services for hundreds of homeless and working poor women. The Smart Lunch, Smart Kid program will provide free healthy meals and enrichment activities during the summer and school breaks. Over the past summer, 4,964 meals were served to children who would otherwise have gone hungry. Action Ministries has operated for over 30 years and was the first to bring federal rehousing to the area. It is the only agency that provides meals directly to children in their neighborhoods during school breaks and during the summer. Danielle Meyer. I hope I didn't leave anything out. I can't read it yet. Oh my gosh. Next up is Augusta University College of Nursing. Their grant is for $17,455, and this is for the Healthy Grandparents Program. The Healthy Grandparents Program was established in 1999 at Augusta University's College of Nursing. This program provides physical, emotional, and social support to grandparents and great-grandparents who are raising their grandchildren. Many of these children have experienced abuse, neglect, and abandonment. Many have special physical and developmental needs. The primary goal is to support grandparent-headed families by providing access to resources to promote family empowerment and independence so children can experience a stable and supportive home environment without having to enter the foster care program. Strength-based services promote stability and permanency in children's lives while maintaining their family ties and their culture, as well as easing the stress of the grandparents who have taken over the parenting role. We have Mary Lou Davis and Mike Patton from the Healthy Grandparents Program. Thank you.
Thank you again. And I apologize again.
Oh, stop it. Just stop. This was a grant that almost didn't happen, so we're very happy they're here. Gap Ministries of Augusta is getting $12,035 for their diaper bank program. I want you all to listen to this because these are things that I did not know, and it exists in our community and every community across the nation. The GAP Diaper Bank program addresses the unmet diaper need in our area. Most federally funded child care assistance programs do not provide diapers. Many families must choose between a dry baby and other vital expenses like food or utilities. It is a hardship on low-income families since diapers cannot be purchased with food stamps or with any other assistance programs. If diapers are not provided by the mother to the child care facility, the child may be refused admittance. This increases the likelihood that a mother cannot go to work or to school. By providing over 4,200 diapers each month to qualified mothers, GAP reduces the mental stress to the family and helps contribute to a healthy, happier baby. Patrick Johnson from GAP Ministries. Congratulations. Next on the list is Kids Restart, and their grant is for $35,000, and their program is Children and Mothers in Crisis. In collaboration with Rape Crisis, Kids Restart will provide comprehensive services to mothers who have come to the attention of DFACS because of issues in the home that are preventing them from raising their children in a safe and nurturing environment. They will provide free specialized individual counseling, therapeutic support groups, as well as supplementary services for women and children who have experienced sexual or interpersonal violence, and for mothers who have substance abuse issues. Licensed professional therapists, pardon me, will guide these women and children to overcome the secrecy and shame that surrounds them. The goal is to break the cycle of abuse and neglect by assisting survivors in developing an understanding of their experiences that will begin their journey of healing and allow their children to thrive. Ann Elick Henry from Kids Restart. I really am having a problem here. I'm fine. I probably joked again. Next on the list is the Lydia Project, who will receive $2,000 for the Cancer Care Lodging Services. The mission of the Lydia Project is to provide women with cancer support for their financial and emotional needs. Many women, especially those living in rural areas needing oncology care, cannot afford to stay in a hotel or pay for transportation. As a result, many decide to not receive the treatment they need to survive. This wide-ranging project provides overnight or extended stay, much-needed transportation to medical appointments, prescriptions for those who cannot pay for medicines while lodging at Lydia, and most importantly, provides encouraging support from other cancer patients. In addition, the Cancer Care Lodging Services includes meals as well as follow-up outreach for 1 year. Who do we have? Okay.
Thank you
Tell
so
me.
much.
Man Eastwood.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think maybe a grandbaby was born today, and that's why.
Janet Alco's baby.
It came today, yeah. Next on the list is Miracle Making Ministries. Their grant is for $23,600. Their program is Women Wellness on Wednesdays. The Women Wellness on Wednesdays, or WOW as they call it, is a project at Miracle Making Ministries, and the goal is to provide additional services to women only, twice a month on Wednesday. Their mission is to provide quality primary medical care to the poor in the CSRA at no cost to the patient. The addition of a digital ultrasound sonogram machine funded by this grant will add tremendous value to the gynecological care provided by the clinic. It's too much for me to handle right now. 2 volunteer OB/GYN physicians will now have the ability to perform in-office diagnostic testing. I got that right. As a result, over 900 women without any form of health insurance and with a variety of that word needs will find a medical home. Dr. Gil Kleeman and Liz Kleeman and Susan Bell from Miracle Making Ministries.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. It was lovely meeting all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Y'all, I apologize. I'm still listening, okay? As we all are, I think. Last on our list is Southeastern Firefighters Burn Foundation, and they will receive $14,160 for the healing power of play. The Burn Foundation, in collaboration with the Joseph M. Steele Burn Center at Doctors Hospital, have designed a family-centered waiting area specifically for small children who have experienced the trauma of a burn injury. Play therapy is a proven strategy for promoting overall rehabilitation. WIP funds will be used to install permanent activity stations to occupy young patients awaiting surgery. Mobile activities such as iPads and virtual reality goggles will provide cognitive distraction during painful procedures. I just love that. It's one of my favorite things. Can you imagine a child who's going through something so painful as a burn, treatment, or awful things that happen, but he can have on virtual reality glasses and be flying an airplane instead. So I love that. These activities will reduce the fear and stress children experience prior to a procedure, as well as provide parents with the opportunity to build a support network with other burn families. Linda McKnight from the Burn Foundation, and Alice Fry, who is on their board.
I didn't see you came in. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, let's see if I can get through this part. So there you are. Those are our 7 grant recipients for 2008. I'm very proud of all of them, and I think they're well-deserved, and I think we need to give them a hand. Over 70% of you voted this year. That is an incredible goal and record that WIP has reached, and thank you, everyone. It's an indication of the growing interest and commitment of our group, as well as the seriousness of the job of the Grants Committee. We value your input, and for those of us who have had children participate or an interest in cross-country or track, every second counts, meaning that every vote has weight, whether it's a 1 or a 10. All were counted. So I hope that you all are pleased with your decisions. I would be remiss at this point if I did not thank my committee for all of the thought-provoking discussions, the knowledge shared, and the diverse opinions that ultimately converged into a ballot that reflected a consensus of minds, and yes, lots of hilarity and a few glasses of wine. So I'd like to thank my committee now. If you were on the grant committee, please stand and get your recognition. I'm almost finished, so I hope I get there. As I reflect on the year of grants, I keep coming back to the actual word, grants, and what it means. I will leave you with a few thoughts of what it means to me. G, we have a group of girls, women, committed to growing our community. And more importantly, G is for gratitude that our community supports grandmothers who not only fill a gap with grace, but also keep the baby dry. R for respect for families who reunite after the trauma of rape and abuse, who are brave enough to restart. A for action taken to alleviate hunger, to encourage a healthy appetite for children who may only know the anxiety of not knowing what's for dinner. N for new and innovative ways that nurture and provide children a less painful and more imaginative way to cope with growing a foundation of new skin. T is thanksgiving for today, that there is a place called Lydia for women ravaged with cancer to experience time out and tenderness. S, a sense of security, whether provided by a sonogram machine or even a miracle or two, for women who have found a safe medical home. All of us can come up with a myriad of words of our own choosing to remind us of the value and importance of the simple word, grants. Let's keep these thoughts in mind as we welcome our 11th year of commitment to our community. Thank you.
I'm exhausted. Thank you, Lee. And Grants does an amazing job year in and year out, and it's wonderful what you've done again this year, and I know we're all very proud, and I do think we are committed to keeping this going forward. Carol, you are now to have our closing remarks.
Thank you. Well, that's quite an act to follow. Kathy, I want to thank you first. What inspiring, meaningful words and actions. That was unbelievable. I'd like to thank our members. Thank you for being here and participating today, for coming to Fall Forum and our other events, the Luncheon Learns. Thank you for voting, as Lee said, the highest percentage ever, and watched Mark's video, and then were well-informed voters. Those votes matter. Thank you to our guests. Thank you for being here, and I hope these inspiring words have left you with a warm feeling in your heart and a need to join us and be part of us. Thank you to Special Events, Beth and her committee, for this lovely luncheon. Thank you to Lee and the Grants Committee. That's the heart of the matter. Thank you to the Augusta Country Club for providing us with a beautiful space in which to meet. And Mark, I don't know what we'd do without you. You're always here with us, and we need you. Again, to Kathy for being here, our first ever outside speaker. I'd like to recognize both the outgoing and the incoming board. If you will stand for just a sec. And you will meet after the meeting for a quick picture, usually in the area just off of here. So don't leave. Thank you. I'd especially like to thank Lou Cheek, our outgoing chair, for her leadership and the many innovations this year. I think she's leaving WIP in a much better position than she found it. It was good before, but I think it's great now. And I think just having this number of women here is a testament to that. So thank you, Lou. We look forward to an exciting year of growth and giving. Please help us by spreading the word of WIP to your friends and relatives and encouraging them to join us. By your attendance at this meeting and the Fall Forum, by viewing Mark's video, and by voting on the grant applications, you show us your dedication. I would Also like to tell you that Beth said that the flowers on the table, not the vases, but the flowers, are for your taking. Please don't fight. Truly, thank you for being here, and I hope to see you next year. The meeting is adjourned.